What's up, everyone? Welcome to day two of Liftoff. Man, we got a powerful day for you today. We're just getting Eric caught up here. Eric, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. I don't know. I think you just froze.
Maybe. Hopefully that Colombian Wi-Fi sticks out for us.
Yeah. Hang tight. Hang tight. So let's let everyone file in here. Good morning, everyone. What's up, Danny? Welcome. We got some people filing in for day two. So we'll give it a minute to let single file line everyone. We'll give everyone a minute to jump in and yeah, so day one, powerful day. So many great speakers. Everybody came and brought it. So day two is just going to be just as good, if not better. Our good friend Eric here is joining us from abroad, which is one of the topics of his talk today, which we're excited about. Nice.
Yeah, hold up. While we're waiting for people to join, let's see if I can get you guys a decent view.
Here we go. Okay. All
There's
right.
Colombia.
So if it lags out,
We know why.
we're understanding. Super cool. So to warm everyone up, I kind of want to show you guys something who is watching this. Just to give you guys an idea of something that we do in Dripjobs that's kind of underrated.
Yo, Tanner, real quick.
Yeah.
Somebody was putting in the chat. We got to like enable the chat.
Yeah, I gotta do that again. All right,
Yeah,
hold
I
on.
think there's only Q&A.
Let's see. There you go. That's done and that's done. So I think everybody should be able to chat. What's up, everybody? You can actually jump in the chat. Yo, let's make sure everybody can see this. There we go. What's up, Donnie?
There we go. Cool.
There we go. All right. So painters in, let's say, Jacksonville, Florida. So if I come across you here, sorry, just using this as an example. So one of the things that I'm passionate about, especially with Dripjobs, is automating workflow, making it easy. And I'm going to try to find an example here of a company. Now, Straight Edge, if you're in here, you were just picked. I don't know you. I'm not coming at you. So let's just take a look at the website, and I want to see if I can find a bottleneck in their website. All right. So first things first, I like that they have a get free quote now. And I did not rehearse this. I have no clue what's coming up. But what I'm seeing here is what I believe, and this is so common that I was confident enough to do this in front of all you guys. What I'm seeing here is what I call a dead contact form. So most times people think that what you're seeing here is normal. There's nothing wrong with it. They got a simple contact us form, email, phone number, but everything I do is related to how much value I can give the customer. And ultimately, when I think of a customer's journey, I'm thinking, man, like, what are they going to have to go through? So if I wanted a quote from this company, and let's say it was Saturday at 7:00 p.m., and I'm searching, I'm like, you know what? This company has the most reviews in Jacksonville. That's why they're on the screen here, because that's the one I clicked. So they've already earned my business, quote unquote, to get a quote. Okay. However, if it's late at night on Saturday and I fill out this form, what's going to happen? Anyone know what's going to happen to my information? Drop it in the chat. If you are this business owner, I owe you one because you're going to be a great example. But what do you think is going to happen to the information when it gets filled out, guys? So drop it in the chat. What you think is going to happen? I want to know. So it's 7:00. It's 7:00 p.m. on a Saturday. And it's Saturday now. All right. So what happens to the information, right? Gets sent right to the email, right? Nothing until the morning. Maybe if we're lucky, who's responding on a Sunday, right? Maybe they're the type of business owner, they don't want to deal with anything on the weekend. So what happens is the customer doesn't get responded to until Monday. And this was part of my talk yesterday. We're talking about the fact that people have options. What you guys saw me do here is I simply just typed in Jacksonville painter because maybe I'm moving into the area. Didn't we discuss that the most valuable customers are the ones that are moving into their home? So these are the thought processes. And what we want to do as a business is we want to have alignment. We want to be ready for these customers. So check this out, guys. So if I filled this out, that's exactly what would happen. Very rarely in this case, when I see a form like this, I'm not going to get any sort of confirmation. I might get something that says, hey, your form has been filled out. right? But in this case, guys, I am not going to get anything. So I want to show you guys something that's underrated with Dripjobs, and then we're going to let Eric take it away while we let people kind of storm in the room here. Almost at 150 people today this morning on day 2. So check it out. So what we're going to do is just show you what I have on my website and all of the Dripjobs users have on their website. Let's check it out. So we're going to hit request quote here. And because it's a Dripjobs form, number one, it's customizable. Now, some people say, Tanner, if you have them go to another form, you're going to have a drop off, right? Who's dropping off? Oh my God, they made me open up another page. I'm out of here, right? There was a sale that happened before this. It was me looking at the reviews. And if they made it to your website and they click the button, here we go. Now we have the ability to put in information. So let's say it's Saturday night at 5 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and put in some random information here. And we are going to fill out a Dripjobs form. Okay, so check this out. All right, so we'll put in the address. We got the nice address here. Now, isn't this all the information that we would actually have to call the customer back to get, right? So when we get that email with their information, check this out. So we're going to do painting the house, please, right? How did you hear about us? We're actually able to organize our customers by lead source and Dripjobs. And here is our preference. So I am saving all of that time for the customer, because what's going to happen is I'm going to have to call that customer back Monday, and I'm going to have to say, hey, what time do you want? Where do you live? Right? All these simple questions that could be answered by the customer and actually give the customer the feeling that they accomplished something. Check it out. What time of day, morning, and then when are you wanting this project done within 2 to 4 weeks? Hit submit request. Now on Saturday at 9 o'clock at night, when I'm thinking about this project, right? I get redirected back to the website. But that's not it. Of course, we know with Dripjobs, there's going to be an automatic follow-up going to that customer. But check this out. I want to show you that 7 automations occur inside of Dripjobs that are going to help your workflow. And then let's get into Eric's talk here in just a second. So first things first, what you're seeing, guys, and I want this to be very clear, the Dripjobs does 7 different automations for you. The first one is it organizes the customer and indicates that we have a new lead in the estimate requested section of our pipeline. Okay, so at any time I can see this, boom, we got a new lead. Okay, not only that, look what it does. It adds a contact, tells us the lead source. And not only that, guys, it creates an appointment request for us to review. So check it out. Now we're in the request center here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this request for Jimmy Davis, and I have all that information right here. Now, do I need to call Jimmy Davis back, Dripjobs users? Can anyone let me know in the chat if I actually have to waste my time and call this guy? Do I have to? If I know that he wants the job type that I offer, guys, in the chat, Dripjobs users, do I have to call this guy? All right. Isn't this the best, right? All we got to do, guys, is review the preferred date, another date, the time of day. And guess what? I could just book it right here. Okay. And this is the last thing I'm going to show you. He wants the 19th. We're going to do it sometime in the morning. Let's say 9 o'clock. He said he wants the morning. Salespeople, anyone got a salesperson? Let's just assign that to Chris. I'm going to schedule that, and I can do that from my phone, and the customer who just filled out the form can get notified, and I don't have to step aside and call and waste time. Okay, because it's speed to lead, and this is how you create a memorable experience, guys. And the last thing I want to show you here is that Dripjobs automates the movement of the pipeline, which means in this case, guys, what I'm going to show you last thing is that you can actually see that our guy, Jimmy Davis, has now moved to estimates scheduled, and he is receiving the appropriate follow-ups. That's automation for 2024, guys. Get with me on Dripjobs, okay? We're extending the coupon. You got 60 days. You have no excuse to not try Dripjobs for free for 60 days. So, Eric, I got them warmed up. They're fired up, hopefully, and I'm ready. Let's get it. All right, guys, so while we're in here, we had a ton of value. We got a great lineup today. We got Eric first, and then we got Justin coming up next. Those of you probably know Eric more than Justin. Justin's going to be bringing in some value when it comes to really, I mean, door knocking is his thing. He's going to bring in a really cool commercial strategy to generate commercial business. Russell, what's up, man? Russell's actually a client of Justin. So super excited to have him in here. And then of course, Eric, man. Eric, we good? You're right?
Yeah, we good.
On the door. And where are you actually?
I'm in Medellin, Colombia. As a lot of you guys know, we're actually hosting our end of year team retreat here. Nice. So yeah, it's a miracle I'm even here, guys. I mean, even just this morning, we're like coordinating the last minute things of the event. If you guys have ever put on an event in a foreign country, you know what it's about. So
All right, take it, brother. It's all you.
But yeah, guys, I'm excited to share this stuff with you guys. By a quick show of hands in the chat, who's come? Just kind of give me a feel of the audience. Who's coming to Expo? Just so I kind of know what we're working with here. If you are, just drop an emoji, a one, or whatever. Yeah. Cool. Good amount of people. Sweet. Cool. So guys, what I'm doing, the reason I asked is I'm presenting on some similar stuff at Expo. So we realized something happened. Okay. So you guys are actually getting a 2-for-1 with me here. Okay. Originally my topic was virtual sales. Okay. And on some of the banners and some of the websites and materials, you had virtual sales. And on some of the materials, you had how to actually see success with a marketing agency. So we're going to get both. Okay. I'm going to have to go through it fast. I don't have a ton of time. Tanner, what I got till 9:15 or 9, I'm sorry.
You can go to the top of the hour, man. 45 minutes.
Oh, we got time then. Cool. So you guys get a treat. We get a 2-for-1. So yeah, let's rock. All right. Welcome. Bienvenidos. If you guys have ever seen a slide from me before, y'all already know. But seriously, I just want to say this. We're kicking off, right? We got 173 people on here, day 2. Please just know that like I understand your time and attention is one of the most valuable resources you have, right? Like your time is literally one of the most valuable resources you have. I'm going to do my absolutely best to deliver on all the value possible. I do not take that for granted. Okay. So like I said, we're going to have to go through this fast. I'm going to go rapid fire at you guys really, really quick. I'm going to buzz through these. If you're like, who the heck is this guy? I've never seen this guy before. Who's this painter in Colombia, right? I give this context just so you kind of know where I'm coming from, where my beliefs come from, how I've gotten here. I think that'll help you guys understand why I've built things the way I have, and you can take it that way, right? So I'm a lifelong wrestler. I've got some ugly cauliflower ear, right, that a lot of you guys notice. I was a state runner-up in high school, wrestled for 3 years in college, and in college, I started working in advertising. So I've been in advertising just a little over 8 years now. This is actually a photo of me at my first job at a company called Thiel's Home Solutions in Ashland, Ohio. They're a big kitchen and bath remodeling company. They did about, I don't know, like 13 to 15 million a year while I was there, give or take a little bit. While I was there, I was hired on as an appointment setter, right? So I was the guy calling the leads. I was calling home advisor leads, Facebook leads, giveaway leads, all sorts of stuff. I got really, really good at that really, really fast. And I moved into this sort of like quasi assistant manager role where I was training and managing parts of our call center. It was a small, like 3-person or so call center. While I was there, because I had advertising experience from e-commerce, I also took over all of their Facebook and Instagram advertising and completely redid that side of things for them. And we scaled that up to a point where we were spending a little over $8,000 a month on Facebook and Instagram, sitting a little under a 5% cost of marketing most months. And if you guys, the reason I put that here, and specifically, this isn't Chicago, right? Go look up Ashland, Ohio. It's a small little town, right? It's a small little town in between Columbus and Cleveland. So to do that, you had to get pretty creative, right? And I've been with that ad spend and everything, so you weren't just seeing diminishing returns. Yeah, I had some funky hair there, you know. Now today, I'm the CEO of a company called Pathfinder Marketing. We've worked with several hundred painters at this point. I didn't update this slide, but in 2023, the numbers from 2022 business to date was over 10 million in paint sales tracked. It's probably a lot more. I don't have the exact numbers for you guys, but you get the idea, right? We've implemented that same advertising system for a lot of painters. And in April, as some of you guys know, I started a painting company, right? So this photo over here is actually me flying back. I was in Playa del Carmen, Mexico at the time. I was flying back. That pupper there was named Mango. It's real cute dog. It was really cool. He was on my flight. And since April, in starting, we sold just over 233,000 in sales, all virtually. And aside from our project manager, our entire office team is remote. Okay. And this is kind of why I started the painting company, for a lot of reasons. Okay. It wasn't just one reason, but a big part of the inspiration was like, can I do this differently? Like I had a lot of these ideas that I was like, probably should work, but nobody's really done them. And I was like, if anybody can do this based on their past experience and skill sets, and I'm about to put on an event for our marketing team, which is completely remote in a foreign country, right? I was like, if anybody can do this, it's probably me. So aside from our project manager and obviously our painters in the field, our entire team is remote. So our sales guy is in Columbus, Ohio, which our painting company is based out of Cleveland, right? So that's 2 hours south. He's visited Cleveland once to see a project. Okay. Our appointment setter is actually in Mexico. Our project coordinator is in Fort Riley, Kansas, and eventually that role will move to overseas. Our graphic designer is in Ecuador, and our tech/systems integrator is actually in Venezuela. Okay. Now, as a as a disclaimer, the graphic designer and our tech/systems guy are primarily on our marketing company. They just cross over. Obviously, I would probably not have those roles full time in the paint company if I didn't already have them from the marketing company, right? Just as a disclaimer. The rest of it we would. But that's our current team on that side, right? So literally all that's in person in the paint business is me, our project manager, and our painters. And even then, as some of you guys maybe saw on my Instagram, my goal is to spend several months out of the country this year. I'm in Medellin, Colombia right now, putting on a team event, and we're still painting today, and it's all running, right? And that's the goal. So basically, this is how we've sold 200,000 plus virtually, and how it might actually be an advantage in today's market selling virtually, and potentially how you could do the same. Okay. Now here's the thing. I already have taught this to probably 150 painters, if not a little more. And I'll be totally frank with you guys. Like, most of them get it completely wrong. Okay. Like, completely wrong. They're just asking the wrong questions. Okay. So I want to start with this, so you guys ask the right questions here and get the most out of this. Okay. If you only learn one thing during this presentation, like if I completely fail you this entire time and you only learn one thing, I want it to be this. Please understand that sales is sales. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's virtual or in person. I lied to you guys just a tiny, tiny bit. I did one in-person estimate right at the beginning of our paint company. Sold it. I followed the same exact framework I'm going to show you guys. There's some very, very minor tweaks. Okay. So sales is sales. It doesn't matter if it's virtual or in person. How you come up with the price is not nearly as important as how you speak to the homeowner. Okay. I think a lot of people get this mistaken. They're like, oh yeah, this is my sales process. And I'm like, what's your sales process? They're like, well, I walk around, I get some measurements, I plug it into Dripjobs production rates. I do that. It's like, that's not your sales process. That is your estimating process. How you come up with the price is not your sales process. Sales and estimating are different things. They are not the same. Okay. If you guys understand that, if you guys just understand that, you're ahead of most of the industry. Okay. Obviously, if you're hanging out here on this call, you're probably ahead of a lot of people. But that's super important to understand. Okay. So here's the thing. When I say people ask me about the wrong questions, here's what I mean. Most people ask me about the tactics. Okay. They ask me how it's priced, right? Like I was telling you, how to get measurements virtually, what type of paint we use, right? How do these packages work? What product do you like? None of that matters in terms of sales process, why this works virtually or not. Okay. Like I said, they're asking the wrong questions. And if that's all you focus on in this process, you will likely fail. And I've seen people try to do this. They've seen what I've done. They tried to do it, but they just take a mediocre sales process, an estimating process, and they put it virtual, and it doesn't work. Right. This process is successful because of, again, how we speak to homeowners and the questions we ask. Okay. That is like the most important part. Please understand that as we move on. Okay. Which is obviously the sales process. But with that being said, we've got very limited time here, and I want to cover actually 2 topics with you guys. And I know you guys all are going to ask about the tactics. So let me actually cover the tactics first. And guys, we're going to do that thing real quick. I'm sorry. We're in a foreign country in a hotel, and there's somebody banging on my door. So you're going to give me like, we're going to take a brief intermission. Go grab a glass of water, grab a cup of coffee. We'll be back in like 30 seconds.
I mean, at the very least, this is very entertaining. He's in a foreign country. He's running the painting business virtually. He's got people banging on his door. We're off to a great start. Day 2. Eric, you okay, man?
Yeah, we're good.
Got 190 witnesses here, bro.
Well, I know.
What's going on in Medellin?
The problem is because this event, Issa has like all these things getting delivered to the hotel that we're taking to the venue later, and they need me to like bang on so I can sign off on this. And it's, yeah. I told you guys.
Are you supposed to put the scrunchie on the door? How do you? All right, go ahead.
I don't know. I ignored it the first like 5 times, but anyways.
All right.
Yeah, this is how you guys know it's real, right? But anyways, guys, I know a lot of you guys are going to ask about the tactics. So we're going to cover those, right? I'll give you guys the sauce. We'll cover the tactics, then we'll cover the fun stuff. So first, honestly, before we even dive into some of the tactics here, the pros and cons, right? Because I don't recommend selling virtual for most people, but I want you to have the information I have so you can make the decisions for yourself. Okay. So what are some of the pros? The pros are you can run more appointments, right? I was at Jason Phillips' event not too long ago. And I was talking with one of the guys at dinner. And he was like, yeah, my sales guy's taking like 4 appointments or something. I just casually mentioned, I was like, yeah, well, my sales guy had a pretty crazy day. He was taking he had like six appointments that day. He's like, what? Right. I'm jaded because he just clicks into the next meeting. We don't have a drive time, a 30-minute drive time or any of those things. We don't have traffic we get stuck in, right? We just click on the next meeting. So I can stack consultation after consultation after consultation after consultation. You can run more appointments, right? You can squeeze out more efficiency from that point of view. On that same note, you don't have gas or vehicle expenses, right? That's a cost you get to save as a business, assuming you are going to provide that as an employer, right? Part of that is you can hire sales talent from anywhere in the world. Like I said, my sales guy is actually 2 hours south of our location, right? And as you saw, several of my team members are overseas. While that would probably be a harder role to hire overseas, you could hire a salesperson overseas, and I know people that have, right? So you have the ability to hire sales talent from anywhere in the world. Just from a recruiting point of view, you aren't limited there. And here's the other thing that I realized a little later in this process is it immediately makes you a little unique and legit. Okay, so homeowners are constantly questioning us if we're legit, right? Because they've had bad experiences with contractors. They know contractors are kind of one-man bands and kind of unprofessional and don't really respond on time. They're kind of dirty and gross and whatever. Like, these are all the things we deal with, right? Me too now. When our appointment setter calls and tells them, hey, your consultation is actually going to be virtual through Zoom. We do it this way, their impression is if they have the technology and the means to do this virtually, like they've probably got some of their stuff together. They're probably not just figuring this out. They're just a 2-man painting company, whatever, right? So it immediately makes you a little unique and legit. Some of the cons, right? It is overall more difficult. You need to actually have a sales process. You just going in, like asking a couple questions, trying to build some rapport and spitting out a price and pretending to be a salesperson won't really do it virtually, right? It's harder. You have to ask good questions. You have to be a much higher level salesperson to succeed with this, okay? You don't have body language, right? You don't have nearly as much body language and that connection and rapport that gets built, and even just being able to see how they're perceiving certain things because you don't have some of those same cues, right? You also have higher no-show rates. So a lot of you guys sitting here, you're probably like, what do you mean no-show? Like my appointment doesn't show up. And some of you guys, especially bigger operations, you guys know what I'm talking about. This becomes a thing more as you scale. It was something we dealt with at Thiel's, right? But when you're virtual, they can just not join the meeting. They can just be like, I don't like this sales guy. Click and hang up, right? It's different. So it's actually something you really have to measure. Whereas that's not really the case. You show up at their house and they forgot. They're still like, well, I'm home. Yeah, come on in. Right? It's different. It's way easier for them to cancel the virtual appointment because they're not feeling well because they just rushed home from soccer practice and they're a little stressed. They're just like, oh, today's not a good day. Where you're already showing up at their house, it's a little different, right? So that is a con. Like I said, they can hang up on you at any point. That's totally happened to our sales guy a couple of times, handling objections where they're just like, I'm scared to tell this person no, so I'm just going to hang up, right? Some of you guys do that to us on the marketing side, right? Like it's a real thing in virtual sales. And it's harder to build trust overall, right? Trust is a huge part of sales in general, and it's just harder to build some of that where I'm not standing in front of you in person, right? That is just part of it. So there's pros and cons. Just so you guys kind of know what you're getting into. Again, this allows you guys to decide for yourself. Again, for most companies, there's very, very, very few painters I've actually recommended like do virtual sales. And if you can implement the same processes and the same sales process I've implement in person and we went head to head, you'd probably beat me. Okay. Like it's the sales process, not necessarily the virtual. But all that being said, here's the tactics. Here is the super boring, not sexy how we do it. Okay. Our estimates are on Zoom or over the phone. Here is a screenshot of my sales guy with a homeowner on Zoom. It looks just like this, right? Just like kind of we're doing right now. originally when we first started, it was all over the phone. I had this belief in my brain that contractors struggle to get on Zoom. A lot of painters struggle to get on Zoom. I'm like, why would homeowners be able to get on Zoom? Right? Like that they are going to struggle, like whatever, right? And it actually happened by mistake when my tech guy made the calendar links for my sales guy when he was taking it over. And he accidentally created a Zoom link and like an automatic email that went to him totally on accident. And one of the first appointments he took was like, hey, I'm on Zoom. And my sales guy's like, what? There's a Zoom link? It was, but like homeowners were just jumping on Zoom. It was actually really easy. It's actually easier to get homeowners on Zoom than it is to get painting contractors on Zoom for the most part. Okay. So it actually is possible. We do most of our consultations over Zoom. If they're older and not, super tech savvy, then we'll do it over the phone. But most happen on Zoom, just like this. We have them send in photos prior to the estimate. We tried all these fancy photo forms and all this sort of stuff, realized it was just overcomplicating it. We literally just say, hey, can you text us over some photos? Here's some screenshots of some leads sending us photos prior to their estimate. Again, it's not like fancy. This is literally just right in our CRM, just people sending photos over. Okay. Now the $1 million question that I spent a lot of time figuring out before launching this thing. How do you price projects virtually? It's a great question. We use a piece pricing methodology for interiors. Okay. So especially if you're familiar with cabinets, right? It's usually by door, by opening, whatever. Similar concept here, right? Obviously I can't really measure square feet. Right. So we take a piece pricing methodology where, like you can see in this example here, it's just a spreadsheet my tech guy built. Like for us, a quote unquote medium room is a standard bedroom, right? Which for us in Cleveland is like 12 by 12 to 15 by 15, right? Standard bedroom. But I would bet you pretty much all of us on this call right now could all look at a photo of a bedroom in your market, not my market, whatever. In your market, you could probably look at a photo of a bedroom and go, that's about a standard bedroom, or that's a master, that's a whatever, right? Couldn't we all do that? Right? We all probably could. So that's how we do it, right? And as you see down here on the bottom, I actually kind of gave a little bit of a key for my sales guy. So like a large room for us is about the size of a 2-car garage. Couldn't most of us look at a photo of a room in a house in our market and go, could 2 cars fit in there? I bet most of us could, right? So that's how we do it. And we've got pricing based on that. Yeah, that's pretty much how that's broken down on interiors. Obviously, there's a little bit more to it in terms of prep level, if more prep's needed, some of that sort of stuff. But this is the basics of it, right? And this is how we're able to do it just through photos and some questions without actually needing to measure anything or do any of that. Okay. Because keep in mind on this virtual sales, just for context, guys, we are giving them a price down to the penny in signing a contract and getting a deposit on the call. This isn't like a rough estimate. We'll come out, verify, collect the check, none of that crap. Like we are closing the deal on the Zoom call. Okay. For exteriors, we do take measurements. It's just easier for exteriors. So we use Google Earth. This is free. All of you guys can do this. You can go take measurements right on Google Earth. We just estimate the height. That's the only thing. You couldn't do height here, right? But we estimate that per story, about 10 feet per story, 5 feet for like a peak or a foundational level or something. And is it like exactly 10 feet? Like maybe not, but again, it's pretty dang close, enough that we can run really profitable jobs and hit our KPIs, right? To that same point, I didn't mention this here, but like that's our thought process. If you're like, well, Eric, a 14 by 12 bedroom is bigger than a 12 by 12 room. You're right, it is. How much longer does it take the painter to paint the 14 by 12 versus the 12 by 12 versus the 11 by 12 and a half? Like it's all pretty much the same, right? It's not going to take my painter that much longer. Okay. So this is how we measure for exteriors. We do have them send in photos still of each side of the house so we can get a little bit of an idea of condition. Sometimes Google Earth isn't totally up to date and stuff. But that's how we do that, right? So exteriors are super simple. We have an e-sign software and payment processor. So pretty simple. Like I said, we're closing this on the call. So on the call, they will tell us what package they want to go with. We send them over a proposal. They sign it right there on the call with my sales guy and put in a deposit. And as you can see too, this isn't just like small deals. This was I guess that's all relative, right? But this example here was a $7,200 project. Our painters right now back in Cleveland are actually working on a $24,000 interior, which in Cleveland is a lot. That was all sold virtually, right? Never met her until we went there to paint the house. Yeah, that's pretty much that. And that's literally it. Like those are the tactics on how we sell virtually. It's literally just a in-person sales process made to work virtually. Okay. So the actual money of this, how are we doing on time? Oh, okay, we're great. Like I said, the rest is just a great sales process. So the more important parts, here's how we sell. Okay. And I'm not going to have time to go into all of it, but I'm going to give you guys the framework. Okay. I won't have time to give you like my exact scripting in every single question, which I would, but we don't have a couple hours. This is what we call our closer framework. Now, this is not mine. I didn't invent this. This was created by a guy named Alex Hermosi, who a lot of you guys may know as he's gotten really popular in the last year or so. And I've just adopted it to work for a painting company. Okay. So if you're not familiar with the closer framework, it basically just goes as this, right? It's just a really simple acronym. C is clarify why they're here, right? Like, why are they getting an estimate from us in the first place? Like, yes, they want to paint, but why? Right? Has their wife been bugging them about it for years? Are they selling the house? Do they just move in? Are their kids constantly walking around complaining that their house is gross and they hate the colors and the whatever? Are they embarrassed when other people come over and Thanksgiving is coming up? Like, why are we here? Okay. L is label them with a problem. So once this kind of goes hand in hand with C, right? They're going to tell us why we're here, and then we need to label them with a problem. Okay, a specific problem. And what that process looks like in action on the call is repeating it back to them and confirming. Okay. And the reason this is so big and it's so important, a couple things, right? But one, like there's only going to be so many problems. Like there's not, if you're an interior and exterior painting company, there's not 50 problems people are going to have. It's going to be the same, usually like 3 to 5, right? It's going to be the same couple problems. And after we ask those questions that are going to help us clarify why they're here, then we're going to repeat it back to them, label them with a problem. So I might go, got it, Tanner. Okay, so if I'm hearing you right, really, you guys hate the colors. You're ready for something new. And you're planning on selling the house in a couple of years. So just get this out of the way now, enjoy it for the next couple of years and be prepared to sell. Am I hearing you right? And they'll go, exactly. Cool. I labeled them with the proper problem. Or they may go, yeah, but really, like, it's just my wife's been bugging me about it forever or whatever. And you may actually have a different problem to solve for, right? It's important before we start going into, this is like the very beginning. This is the first like 10 minutes of the sales process. It's important we understand what problem are we solving for, right? And this is just like a life thing, not even a business thing. One of my favorite questions to ask myself is, what problem are we solving? Okay. Like as things are, and you're trying to do all these things and whatever, and you're trying to do this and that, whatever, I'll often just ask myself, like, what is the problem we are trying to solve for? And that will help. And this is what we're doing here. Before we start making recommendations and selling to this homeowner, we need to know, what problem are we actually solving for? Who here has gotten to the end of an estimate, made a recommendation of maybe they should use this product or that, or do this or whatever, and then they found out that didn't actually matter to that customer? If that happened to you, you didn't ask enough questions at the beginning. You didn't label them with the right problem. Okay. Anyways, O is overview their past experiences. Okay. So I want to know, what were their past experiences and what are the current beliefs they hold? Okay. This is what I'm trying to figure out here. What beliefs are they currently coming in with? Are they like thinking contractors are the scum of the earth, right? Have they had horrible experiences, or have they had some decent experiences and like they're just really excited to get their house painted? Like I need to know where they're coming from, again, so I can better help them. You guys are going to notice through the sales process, even the short version, like our sales process is very consultative. It's not some like hardcore closer, Grant Cardone, Andy Elliott, super intense thing. Like it's not. It's very consultative. It doesn't really feel salesy. It's not supposed to. And like my goal is to genuinely help these people, right? So I'm going to overview their past experiences, see where they're coming from, so that I know how to best help them as their salesperson, as their consultant, as their guide, right? So what some of those questions will look like is, hey, Kathy, look, I'm not always sure where I'm meeting people at. So I always like to ask, like, have you ever hired a professional painting company or contractor of any kind for that matter? And if so, like, what was that experience like? The good, the bad, the ugly? And they'll walk me through it. Okay. And here's the real magic, just to kind of give a separate little golden nugget on this. This is probably the girthiest part of my sales process. Like sometimes we spend like 20, 25 minutes here if they've had a lot of experiences. So let's say they say, well, yeah, we had a recent painter and da 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 da, and the experience was this, that, whatever. Cool, we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to go, got it. Okay. What other experiences? They're going, well, we had this roofer once and da 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 da. I'm going to go, okay, cool. Man, sorry to hear that. Anything else? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to exhaust every single thing. I want to hear all of it, right? I'm going to exhaust all those experiences so I know where they're coming from. Then after that, we're going to sell the vacation. Okay. So like, just so you guys understand, because I'm not going through it like line by line as a script, C, L, and O in this framework are the most like this takes up like 30, 40 minutes sometimes. And when this is done correctly, this takes up a lot of time. You're asking a ton of questions. There's questions sprinkled in here, right? About timeline, about again, that like their beliefs with this. What's most important to them? Is it getting it done cost effective, or is it having every detail perfect? Like, what problem are we solving for? That part takes up a lot of time. And for those of you that have like heard me sell, because like I don't know if I'm sure we do with 220 people here. I'm sure there's some of you guys that are like clients and partners of ours at Pathfinder. If you guys have heard of me review our estimates, which we've done sometimes, like you guys hear this part, sell the vacation, it's super short. It's like, it doesn't even really feel like selling. It's 5-10 minutes. Okay. But this is sell the vacation. And to explain that further, right, as Hermosi would say, you're selling the white sand beaches, right? You're selling Maui, not the plane ride. Right, you're selling the white sand beaches, the dolphins, the beautiful blue water, the pina colada in your hand. You're not selling the 14-hour plane ride to get from Cleveland to Hawaii or Maui or whatever, right? That's what we mean when we say sell the vacation, right? So I'm not talking about all the different paint products and the VOCs and the whatever. I don't even know, man. I'm not a production guy, but like we're not talking about all of that sort of stuff. We're talking about like the things that matter to them, which again, they're going to tell you that in the other spot. If you ask all the right questions, they're going to give you the answers to the test and tell you what's important to them. Okay. And then we're going to sell to that. Right. Hopefully that makes sense. Is that making sense? Are you guys vibing with this? If so, drop a emoji in the chat or tell me this doesn't make sense and I'll double back. Yeah. Emoji. Cool. Thanks, Brock. Cool. Fantastic. Yeah, shout out Chris. I appreciate that. Cool. Okay, sweet. I'm glad this is making sense. And there's a Q&A thing where you guys can drop questions in there. We should have time for them. So E is explain away their concerns. Okay, this is basically like objection handling, right? I can't tell you because what we also do for our clients is we review their estimates. We have them record them on their phone and we listen back to them. So I'm reviewing an estimate of a painting contractor across the US at least once a week, right? And I cannot tell you how many times somebody gets an objection and then they just go, okay, cool, let me know, and walks away, right? Most sales, at least for us, start after the first no, right? They're like, that's way more than I thought it was. Like we probably hear that on like 60% of our estimates, right? Like it's normal. It's way more than I thought it was. I'm going to have to talk to my spouse. I'm going to have to, right? So E is explain away their concerns, handle those objections, okay? And then R is reinforce their decision. This is essentially the idea of reducing buyer's remorse, right? If any of you guys have ever closed a big project, you feel great, you close this $20,000 project, you leave, and what do most painting contractors do, or most salespeople do? They got the sale, there's nothing else to do. They just wait until the fulfillment team, right, the project manager and stuff, takes care of it. And maybe a few weeks go by and there's no communication, right? And then the homeowner, the buyer, gets some buyer's remorse and they're like, hey, not sure if we want to do this. Might want to get some other quotes. This other guy was cheaper, right? So we need a process to actually reinforce their decision. I think of it like this, okay? As soon as we make the sale and hang up that call, they are a plane that is losing altitude. This is how I think of it. And my job, or our job as a company in reinforcing their decision, is to catch that plane and get it some fuel and get it back up before it crashes. Like that is how I think of it from the second we hang up. Okay. So with our reinforcing their decision, what that looks like for us, just so you guys know, in like the full version of this, I had a whole slide on this. But what that looks like is our sales guy fills out a form that gets all this information to our project coordinator, and our project coordinator is calling within 24 hours, ideally within the same day, but they're calling within 24 hours and our sales guy fills out all those notes. So when she calls, she's not asking a bunch of questions and making the customer explain all these things again. They're going, Hey, is this Cindy? Hey, Cindy, this is blah, 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 blah. I just got everything over from Steven. I see we're painting your interior. We're doing these rooms. Cool. You're looking for some lighter colors, but I have a note to schedule you with our designer. Cool. I'm going to go get that taken care of. Right. And our goals within that 24 hours to make contact with them and schedule the color consultation with our designer. So within 24 hours of them purchasing, they're already getting stuff from us. Even if we're not going to paint for 2 months because we're booked out, like they're already scheduling with a designer, meeting with that. They're already experiencing like, wow, this company is on top of it. And that's reinforcing their decision. So yeah, Devin, we should have time at the end. If somebody wants to jump on, I'm happy. If somebody wants to like Tanner, bring somebody up to stage, I'm happy to do a quick role play. Cool. That's that on the sales process. Let me get a couple of these quick questions because then I'm going to switch to the other topic that I promised you guys. Okay. What systems do you need in place to sell virtually? Really not a lot of systems, right? Just the stuff I went over. You need a Zoom account. The most important thing you need to sell virtual is a great sales process. And ideally have that script and framework written out. Right? Like that's the most important thing. The rest of it's pretty easy. Like for the first month, we sold it just over the phone. We didn't even use Zoom and we still had a good close rate. We were still above 30%. So again, that's what I mean by when I say the most important thing is the sales process rather than like the tactics. Okay. So that would be the most important thing. How are change orders handled virtually? Great question. Right. So happens all the time. Our designer will go out and she'll be like, oh, well, if you could do this room, this color, whatever. And she'll often have stuff for us to upsell, right? And pretty simple. Then if we need a couple more photos or if we know what it is, we send a new proposal with the change order, right? Simple as that. Just like you guys do them, right? It's the same exact thing. How do you account for wall condition and repairs when all virtual? Great question. So I kind of just briefly touched on this. Let me actually go back. So in this piece pricing, Laura, I don't know if you can see here on this screenshot, if you see like where I have walls, then I have it marked as normal. Essentially, we have 3 tiers. Okay. So we have normal, heavy, and then very heavy. And all of those increase price a good bit. Okay. So if like, let's say the walls were in pretty rough shape, right? Or, they had some peeling paint in a spot or whatever, our sales guy would go and mark that heavy. And then that would increase the price accordingly to it. Like, again, is it like exactly how much, like how many man labor hours is going to account for it? No, in most cases, it's probably more than we need. I'd rather be high than low. And yeah, again, it's usually pretty close, right? So same thing if there's like cracks in a ceiling or something, we mark it heavy and that increases the price on it. So anonymous, can we get your sales script? Yeah, go ahead and just DM me after. Hit me on Facebook or Instagram or something, and I'm happy to share resources with you guys. Cool. Is there one other? Oh, there's another. All sub labor in this model. No, so we do both, I say, but we're much heavier W-2. The intention when starting our paint company was to be all subs, and I got my ass kicked for like 7 months straight. And I still got my butt kicked with W-2s for many months until we got some really good people, but I was getting my butt kicked less. So I leaned in harder to W-2s. But either way, for me, it's the same. Either way, I have the same labor budget. The question is just, is that amount in budgeted hours? And then we have a bonus structure for our painters, or is it in sub labor? Either way, I'm paying the same amount so I can hit my KPIs of 55% GP. So hopefully that helps. Cool. Where's chat? That's right, Brad. That's right. Try to bring the energy. How much do you charge per square foot for interior commercial? We don't do commercial, and we don't charge per square foot. We go by that piece pricing methodology that you saw right here. So, I don't know. I don't know how I would do that. Okay. So with that said, guys, how are we doing on time? Okay, cool. Perfect. We got 15. Again, we'll probably have maybe a little bit of time for some Q&A or role play here. But I also wanted to cover this, guys. I wanted to cover like how to actually succeed with an agency. And I teased a little bit, I'd cover this, but then the promotion on the website and the banners and stuff was a little confusing. So I just wanted to do both. I've run Pathfinder Marketing for 4 years now in January. Okay. We've worked with a lot of painting companies. I know most of the agency owners out here, right? Lucas was on here earlier, Austin, a lot of people. And I know they'd resonate with a lot of this. Here's the reality. Most people don't really succeed with agencies. Or lead gen, clump lead gen, like Home Advisor, right? Clump it all the same, right? If your marketing isn't internal and they're hiring it out, most people don't really succeed. Like I'd say the average doesn't. In general, generally speaking, right? Go make a post on the painting contractor group and ask people their opinions on Home Advisor and lead gen services. Everybody says they have all these crazy stories, right? And I would say that even like, so a lot of our clients, obviously, I'm not saying like clients don't see success, right? I'd say probably 80% of our clients see very, very good results. But even then, I could go to pretty much every single one of our clients and probably find ways they could be doing even better, right? They're at an 8% cost of marketing. They're doing good. They're happy. They're thrilled. You see people in the chat right here, like singing our praises, right? And I could go through pretty much every single client and find ways they could be doing better. Okay. These are just some key points that I think people should keep in mind to see success with an agency, whether you work with us, Baseco, Austin, whoever, right? Here's things I think a lot of people miss that will drastically increase your chances to see success in the marketplace. Okay. So the biggest one is understand marketing at its core. Okay. Know enough to be in the conversation. A lot of people I talk to, and that why do you guys go hire agencies, right? You don't want to learn it. You're like, I don't want to learn this marketing and sales stuff. I'll just pay somebody else to do it, which like I totally get, man. This is me in production, right? I put that parentheses there so I'd remember to talk about it. This is me in production. I'm not a painter. I don't like enjoy it. I have a great admiration for what you guys do. It is absolutely incredible. And I'm in awe every single day, like watching our guys, but like, I don't nerd out about the different chemicals in paint and like the different techniques of cutting this in or texture matching that thing. Like I don't. I'm like, it's cool, but like, I'm not going to like research that in my free time. Right. And a lot of you guys are that way with marketing and sales, which I totally get. But here's the thing. The reason our painting company is doing like pretty well right now is because I got my ass kicked for 9 months learning what I needed to learn in production. So that when my project manager and trainer calls me while I'm in Colombia and is telling me we have a problem with an oil-based trim and oil's out in Ohio, so he called our rep and did this and then thinned this product out to get the right finish, I at least know what he's talking about. I can at least be in the conversation. Okay. It's the same thing with you guys with marketing. Okay. Understand it at its core. Take the time, invest the time. Even if you don't like it, I understand. I just did this for 9 months and had to understand enough production to be in the conversation. Because that's what was happening with me, guys. When I first started the paint company, I was getting taken advantage of by subcontractor and subcontractor and subcontractor. I had subcontractors try to tell me bubbling in paint was because of a raindrop that hit it, right? I knew that one wasn't true. But like I had all these things that tried to get passed over to me because I didn't understand. They knew it right away, right? And there's a lot of great marketers out there. I'm not saying people are just going to go take advantage of you, right? Like everybody here on that you're going to hear speak and stuff that is a marketer has good intentions here, right? But you need to understand it enough to contribute. Our best clients are people that have a desire enough to like understand enough that they can again participate in that. And it's not us just doing the entire thing. They're like, well, I know my market really resonates with this type of thing, right? And they understand the basics enough. And your agency, like a good agency, will teach you parts of this, but again, they can only teach you as much as like you have a desire to learn. Okay, I can't tell you how many people sign up with us and they're like, I don't want to know anything, and like that's cool. I'm down. That's fine. I'll run your ad stuff, but your chances of seeing success are going to just drop drastically, right? Just let me run the whole business at that point. If you just don't want to learn anything about your customer acquisition, how you get money in the door, right? Understand it at its core. Anyways, I'll move on for the sake of time. A great sales process goes a long freaking way. Like seriously, a long freaking way. And we can talk about that forever. A lot of you guys probably know that, right? You hear me and all the other marketers talk about sales process, sales process, sales process. It's true. Like it's true. It's not just a way to pass ownership or anything and be like, oh, it's not the marketer's fault. Like you need a sales process. That like there is actually a lot of truth to this. And I've seen a lot of people fail that I know we crushed for because I'm running the same leads in my market. And it was simply a difference in sales process, right? To give perspective of this, okay, one of the really cool parts about having a painting company now is I get to test the wackiest marketing ideas with our company before we have to test them on a client account, right? So for the last month in December here, I tested this kind of crazy idea of giving this thing away for free and doing this whatever. And honestly, the leads that came back from it were fairly low quality, like pretty low quality. Like our close rate was really low, or a set rate was really low. It wasn't great. But for perspective on that, even with that, because we had a great sales process, we were at about a 12% cost of marketing, which is still higher than I want it to be, right? I'd rather have it be less than 10%, but that wasn't that bad, even though the lead quality is really low because our sales process made up for it. And that allowed me to test something kind of crazy and wacky and not have it completely burn me when it went a little sideways. Okay. This was with our company last month, right? This is just this last month in December. This is a really big one, okay, in terms of how you manage your relationship with your agency. Your agency is not a vendor. Okay, like technically they are, but hear me out. They're a partner. They're a fractional employee. If you change the way you think about it, I think you might see a lot of success, right? If you treat them more like a fractional employee, in my personal opinion, I think you'll have a lot more success. Okay, and think about it this way, because I see a lot of people do this, right? They hire an agency, right? And they don't want to be involved, right? They're like, oh, it's this vendor. They're going to like kind of do their thing. I'll check in with them once a month, this, that, whatever. And they make one mistake. I fire them and go to the next vendor, right? Sure, when F's up, I threaten to go to Benjamin Moore, whatever. Like, again, that's fine. You can do that, but play this out. And I'm not saying everybody here has like goals to go do 10 million a year or whatever, but like, let's say you did. Let's say you're sitting here listening right now. You're like, I want to do 5 million a year at some point, whatever. When you get to that certain point, you're going to have to hire an in-house marketing person. I guess you don't have to, but it would make sense. Like on the organizational chart and the P&L statements, it would make sense to hire an internal marketing person and not just always have it outsourced, right? So if you treat it that way from the beginning, the relationship changes. Again, you're working with them, you're communicating with them constantly, you're understanding what they're doing, you're contributing, right? Just like we talked about understanding, you're contributing to that conversation. Right? Maybe they make a small mistake and you're like, hey, well, what can we do to make sure, right? Think of the difference in how you would treat a vendor making a mistake versus your employee making a mistake. An employee makes a mistake. The first time a new hire makes a mistake, would you just fire him immediately? Maybe some of you guys would. That's a separate leadership conversation, right? But no, we're probably like, hey, like what happened here? How can I help you make sure this doesn't happen again? And then if they make the same mistake 2-3 freaking times, then maybe you're putting them on a performance improvement plan and considering letting them go, right? But you're probably not like firing your admin like if they forget to accept that Dripjobs appointment like once, right? But I see people treat their agencies and their vendors, and same thing with like their accountants, like other things too. This isn't just to that, right? But if you treat them like a fractional employee, you start to have a different relationship and you start to work together. You guys get on the same side of the table, as opposed to working against each other and having be this thing that you're constantly battling. Okay. I think that's all I had on that. I feel like I had more, but if it comes back to me, I'll tell you. They all go together, right? But this is my last point here, and then we'll open it up to any Q&A we got time for. No monthly report BS. If you're a client for any agency, anybody, then you're just waiting for your monthly report and that's it. And that's the only communication you have. I think that's crap. And I think you're lowering your chances to see success. Constant communication. Again, what if this was an employee or a fractional employee? Would you just talk to them once a month to see the report of what they completed? No, you'd probably be messaging them with them every day. Like, yo, what are you working on? You need anything from me? Right? Like you'd probably be doing that. And I will tell you for sure, our best clients are the ones that communicate constantly, that we have daily communication with inside of Slack. Our best clients. In fact, it's almost gotten to a point like we've worked with enough people at this point. I could almost tell you, and I'm sure like Jensen and the rest of our client success team could tell you the same, within a week. Like in the first week or two, I could probably tell you how likely the client is to see a ton of success with us before we even launched a single ad, just by how they communicate and how involved they are. I guarantee it. Like that's a red flag for us. If a client doesn't communicate for like 2, 3, 4 weeks and we're blowing them up, like we will let clients go over that regularly because I know exactly where it's going at this point. You're not going to have the resources to succeed. Right. So anyways, I could go on and on. But those are things I keep in mind. If you're like, man, I keep working with all these reputable agencies, all the people on these calls, and I just fail and fail and fail and fail. I'm not saying like nobody makes mistakes. Like we've made tons of mistakes. Like we've deserved to be fired before, for sure. I could go through and like people will make mistakes, of course. But I think as the paint business owner, now that I understand that side of it too, and I've hired vendors and I've hired bookkeepers and we work with, right? Like I've transcended that wall, if you will. These are the things that I would give to all of you guys to keep in mind of what can you do on your end to drastically increase your odds of seeing success if working with a marketing agency. Um, with that being said, that's all I got. So if we got time, any questions? I think there's one or two in the chat.
Eric, I'm gonna field the questions. We can do a rapid fire. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. So what do we got, guys? Ask a couple questions here. How much are you charging for a 12 by 12 room with one window, one door, and one closet? Okay, and let's say that they're using super paint for the walls, ceiling trims, doors to keep it simple, two coats.
So the way our pricing breaks down, we go labor only first, and then we build 3 packages off of that. We're about at like 450 for a standard bedroom. Walls only.
Just walls. So ceiling, trim, doors, you'd be about
Would
a
all be-
thousand, 1200
Yeah,
bucks.
then what we do is like wall or ceiling and trim is half of what our wall price is.
How do you
So
account for wall condition and repairs when doing things virtually?
so that's where we have that again, I think I shared this earlier with like Laura. Um, where we have that normal condition. If wall condition's a little worse, right, it's going to need a little extra prep time and everything. That thing's a drop down, right? And we can go market to heavy or very heavy, and that changes our pricing over here. And that's how we take account for that virtually.
How do you do color consultations remotely?
We don't. We send an in-person designer out that we got connected with from Sherwin-Williams, who is freaking phenomenal.
What
So,
are what are some systems that are needed to have in place to sell virtually?
you really don't need a lot of systems. You just need a amazing sales process. The rest is pretty basic. You need an e-sign software as long as you're not operating pen and paper. Like Dripjobs will do everything you need if you just have a great sales process. Like basic stuff.
The only thing that I feel like we're missing that we'll eventually have is the calling feature within Dripjobs, but a workaround
Yeah.
would be to use open phone, because the goal here I think would be, as you scale this thing to record calls. I just want to let you know mostly what we do is virtual. I mean, we send someone, but
Yeah. It's
we
much
transit
different. But yeah.
it's I mean, at the end of the day, COVID really made this like a thing and was really cool. Never thought we could do it. And we do a lot of quotes virtually. So my biggest apprehension is getting old people on Zoom, which seems like you figured that should be the
That was
next.
actually same here. Like I thought it would be too, but that was easy.
But Zoom is globally accepted now. Can you share that methodology table in terms of your pricing? Are you willing to share that?
Yeah, I need to remove some proprietary stuff from it. But again, DM me on Facebook or Instagram, just Eric Foz on all platforms, and I can get it to you guys.
Cool. Are you gonna pitch right now or just straight
Oh
value?
yeah, if you guys, I mean, you guys know I lead with value first. I don't really try to be that guy. But yeah, if you guys heard all this, like our core business, Pathfinder Marketing, does Facebook and Instagram marketing for painters, as well as sales coaching, right? So if you heard this and you're like, wow, this Eric guy is incredibly handsome and really, really smart. I don't have any fancy link for you. I'm really setting up
I
for
got one.
a team event. But yeah, drop whatever link. Again, just feel free to hit me up anywhere. Me or my team will see it. And say you were at Liftoff 2024 and we'll hook you up. So
Eric's team's awesome, guys, just so you know. I mean, he's got a great team. This guy's a culture guy and he's really building this painting company. He's not just doing it, he's really trying to build it. He wants to scale it. And you didn't mention your coaching calls, Eric, which people rave about.
yeah.
That is included in the package. I dropped the link here. So if you guys fill that out within 24 hours, at least we'll know that you came from the liftoff event. So if you want to hear a little bit more about what Eric and his team does, I'm sure at some point there will be a consulting for virtual selling that he tacks on. Because
I mean, we do that on the coaching calls.
there
Like
you go.
we haven't really adjusted like how we package it or anything, but it's funny. I was talking with the team the other day and it's like, we've almost at this point created like unintentionally, but created like a course on like how to start your own painting business and do parts of it virtually. Because as people have asked, so how we normally do our coaching calls is like Tuesday will be a like live estimate review and Q&A, mostly sales focused, right? And then Thursday we'll have like a specific topic that either I'll teach or we'll bring in a guest speaker, right? We'll bring in Tanner, we'll bring in somebody to come share and teach something specific. And a lot of those have become like, here's how I price out my projects. Here's our whole sales script. Here's my bonus structure for painters. Here's our recruiting ads. Here's what we're seeing is working really well. So yeah, and then that all gets uploaded to like a portal and stuff. So
Fantastic. Let me just do a quick browse. Any other major questions?
yeah,
Give me
I see a
give me
couple here.
Give me a
Um,
conversion rate from lead to estimate for the virtual world.
50% or higher. That's my same KPI if it's in person. I have the same KPI for all our clients. I want the same thing for our team. My KPIs didn't change because we're virtual. And
How
our
much do you,
setter is hitting that pretty much every single month.
I got time for one more question. How much do you like to start your customers off with Facebook spend per day?
Yeah, I put that in the chat. 25 per day minimum, 750
Okay,
a month. Ideally.
got it.
Yeah. But case by case. There's cases where I recommend less, there's cases where I recommend more.
Eric, we love you, man. Thank you for the insight. As always, value. Gave us 2 presentations in one in under 45 minutes. You're a rock, guys. Hit up Eric if you want to hear a little bit more about his services. Jump in on his coaching calls. And Eric, we appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys too.
All right, man.